Watch this.
It's a rainy Tuesday, and here are the big topics ahead for you on this edition of the 208. We followed the evolution of Idaho's abortion laws over the last several years. The courts have played a big role in that. But now another court has another ruling that has another impact on Idaho's abortion laws. We'll explain it all.
He wanted to have a park named in honor of his wife, Ann Daly Morrison.
It's a little gray of a day out there, so we are brightening up the evening with a special feature on a special Boise spot. Recognize this gorgeous greenery? We're getting to know Idaho in the Boise backyard.
So it's really just a really fun promotion that we do because at this time of the year in Idaho, it's really all about hunting.
You asked, we sought the answer. A local auto dealership says that you can get a gun with the purchase of a vehicle. So how does it work? Well, we asked the auto dealer. That and much, much more ahead for you on the 208. If you're keeping track of the enforcement of Idaho's abortion laws, it's time to get out the editing pencil. For this segment, let's focus specifically on the application of Idaho's abortion laws in emergency situations. So the laws in the Gem State are pretty simple. Abortion's against the law, except for cases of rape and incest that are reported to law enforcement or in situations where they need to save the life of a mother. So a federal court ruled about 2 weeks ago that Idaho's abortion ban can go into full effect. And that overturned a narrow pause on enforcement in emergency situations. You're looking at documents from September 28th and 29th, and that's when the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals sided with the state and the state legislature in lifting a partial injunction of the abortion ban. And that's because of a challenge by the U.S. Department of Justice, the Biden administration. So they sued over the lack of exemption in Idaho law, as they say, to protect the health of the mother. So the Justice Department challenged Idaho law, saying it violates the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, or EMTALA. And that is a federal law that requires medical providers at facilities that receive Medicare funds to treat and stabilize anyone for an emergency. So in late September, Judge Lawrence Van Dyke wrote that the legislature made a strong case that the abortion ban doesn't violate EMTALA. The pause in Idaho's abortion law at the time, that was lifted through that lens. Until this morning, so another change. In a win for the Justice Department, the Biden administration, the Ninth Circuit Court has granted a rehearing en banc of the recent court order that said Idaho's abortion law is not preempted by federal EMTALA. So the district court injunction against Idaho law is back in effect for now. So we are back to where we were back on September 27th. Here's the official order from the court that came out this morning. Quote, upon the vote of a majority of non-recused active judges, it is ordered that this matter be reheard en banc pursuant to federal rule of appellate procedure. And you can see here that it says the order published there in September is vacated. So what's this French phrase we're talking about here? Well, en banc, and I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, it's a rehearing, and it means that a larger group of judges at the Ninth Circuit will be hearing the case instead of the smaller panel of 3 judges that ruled in late September. So very literally, en banc is a French term meaning on the bench, and the phrase is used to describe the special procedure where a larger group of judges of a particular court, like the Ninth Circuit, they hear a case all together. This happens in situations where a court thinks that a case is very complicated. They want to get more brains on the deal. Following up on a story we brought you last month, another chapter in the book of GOP conflict in the state of Idaho. Another court story for you. A district judge granted a preliminary injunction preventing the Idaho Republican Party from holding an election for the board chair of the Bingham County Republican Central Committee. The injunction will stay in place until the BCRCC can exercise its right to appeal a decision declaring its recent election invalid. So we told you about this. The legal dispute came up after the BCRCC elected Matthew Thompson as its new chair. This was an election on July 20th, 2023. Soon after, the Idaho GOP received an anonymous grievance alleging violations of party rules in the county election. Idaho GOP Chair Dorothy Moon responded by declaring the election void without giving the group a chance to respond. So she scheduled a new election for September 18th. However, the county appealed Moon's decision under the Idaho Republican rules. In the October 10th order, that is today, District Judge Darren Simpson made that temporary injunction permanent. So the judge found that the The Bingham County Republican Central Committee has a clear right to appeal Chair Moon's decision before any new election is held, saying, quote, allowing the BCRCC to continue its business until after the appeal is decided will not harm the Idaho Republican Party. That's what Judge Simpson wrote. The injunction will remain in effect until the BCRCC's internal appeal is concluded. And the final order reads that the BCRCC's motion for a preliminary injunction is granted, and the Idaho Republican Party, they are barred from calling any special meeting to elect a new chairperson of Bingham until after the appeal has run its full course. That's pursuant to the Idaho Republican Party rules. BCRCC attorney Greg Chaney, former Idaho lawmaker, called this victory for his clients a victory for due process and fair elections. The Idaho Republican Party, he says, the Idaho Republican Party, I should say, has not issued a statement on this ruling.
I'd like to make a nomination for Greg Furch to fill this vacant seat on Central District Health. Somebody who's been through the legislature, I think, understands the dynamic of a committee system better than most. He has medical experience as a chiropractor, runs his own practice in Boise, and has a desire to serve, which I think is very important.
All right, so a little update for you there. The Ada County Commissioners have nominated a replacement for Raul Labrador on the Central District Health Board. Labrador, Idaho's Attorney General, left the role on the board back in August. This is shortly after he won election. So a replacement was needed. The nomination, as you heard, former lawmaker Greg Furch, and he will need to be approved by the other counties represented on Central District Health. It's not just Ada County. They also represent Elmore, Boise, and Valley counties. And from there, Furch could be officially added to the board. All right, Ada County voters, how you doing out there? Well, I want to tell you that your Ada County Elections Office, they have been working very hard over the last several weeks and months to get you ready for the election coming up on November 7th. So depending on where you live, though, you will see different races on your ballot. And this is also great info that's been put out by the Ada County Elections team that is all available on their website right now. And I want to show you actually a little bit of some of the things that they have available on their website. If you go to the Ada County Elections website, there's going to be all kinds of things you can check out. Of course, there's a voter information. You can find out where you can go ahead and vote. You can register to vote, and you can also figure out how to get your absentee ballot. So just want to let you guys know there's some stuff going on here, and there's the election countdown. 27 days, 15 hours until the big election. And as we get a little bit closer to election day, there's actually a tool, and we can show you exactly what's going to be on your ballot. So when we get a little bit closer and the system maintenance is down, the system is down right now for maintenance, but when Ada County and their election team gets that all fired up, we will show you how everything works and how you can see before election day what's on your ballot. All right, let's see what else is going on around the 208. Abby Davis has got the 411.
Today, a man is behind bars after Caldwell police arrested him for reportedly shooting a gun into the air yesterday. The police department says people reported the man making comments about hurting himself and actively shooting rounds into the air and into the ground last night at 5:30 near West Easy Street. Police set up a perimeter around the suspect, evacuated nearby homes, and sent out a reverse 911 telling people to shelter in place. Nobody was hurt, and the suspect eventually put the gun down and surrendered without any problems. He faces several charges, including unlawful discharge of a firearm in city limits, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest. It's day 4 of the Israel-Hamas war. The death toll has topped 1,600, including 11 Americans. There are still several U.S. citizens in the region, including some from Idaho. Bishop Kelly High School said today, "We do have 2 faculty members in the Holy Land right now. They have been in communication, mostly via social media. Today they posted they have found a way home via Jordan." The district went on to say the staff members will be home this Thursday. The Ukrainian Welcome Center is moving to a new location in Nampa in order to allow services to Ukrainians coming to Idaho to continue. This video is of the old location at the lighthouse. Since first opening shortly after the war in Ukraine began, the center has served more than 570 people and provided a place of community for those seeking safety from conflict. The center says the new location will continue to support Ukrainians with an evolving approach as their needs change. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Abby Davis.
She was the front person that was meeting with other countries' leaders and bringing back information here to Idaho.
A place you and your family have likely walked through in Boise, a gem of a park. But how did this Boise icon come to be, and who is the woman behind the name? Something else you want a backstory on, or maybe just a story? Well, you can text us. Here's our number, 208-321-5614. Please be sure to include your name and hashtag the 208. You can send us your comments, your questions, your thoughts, really anything, and we'll get to some of these live on screen at the end of the show. In the heart of downtown Boise sits the largest park in the Boise Parks and Recreation System, and Morrison Park. It's part of the city's park system known as the Ribbon of Jewels. And those are parks named after women who have made tremendous impact on the city. Most know it for its endless acres of grass along the Boise River, for its amazing sports fields, its awesome dog park, and of course, the final destination for all those floaters going down the Boise. But those new to Boise, or maybe even longtime residents, you may not know the name behind the park or her life story, which actually starts in a former Idaho mining town.
Anna Daly was born in Courtsburg, Idaho.
It was a small mining town north of the Boise Basin, which was in the middle of its gold rush. It was there her family opened up the Daly Hotel.
When she was 16, the Dalys moved to Boise, where she worked at the Capitol as a typist. She met a man named Harry Morrison, who was the founder of Morrison Company.
And that company helped build Boise with projects in and around the city, including the New York Canal and Bogus Basin. Morrison was also responsible for the development of national projects like Penn Station, the San Francisco Bay Bridge, even the Hoover Dam. Anna and Harry eventually married.
She traveled with him all over the world to all of the construction sites. Her nickname was the First Lady of Construction. Anne was an ambassador really for Morrison and for the United States. When they traveled across the world, she was the front person that was meeting with other countries' leaders and bringing back information here to Idaho. We're talking about the 1920s, and she is traveling across the world in the 1920s and meeting with other countries' leaders, and that was a really big thing back in that time.
The two worked hand in hand for decades as Morrison continued to grow its international reputation.
They never had kids, but the company was really their child that they worked together on and traveled to make it a success. She died of leukemia in 1957.
After her death, Harry wanted to do something to remember his wife.
He wanted to have a park named in honor of his wife, Ann Daly Morrison. He bought the land and had his own construction team actually build the park.
The initial construction of the park, if you will, was really ran by Morrison Knudsen. They cleared the land. I mean, this is a lot of space, and so they cleared the land. They made sure that waterways were accessible, and that has really carried through to today.
The 153-acre park was given to the city of Boise by the Harry Morrison Foundation on June 7th, 1959.
It by far is our most interactive park, our most engaging park, and our most diverse park.
Visitors can take part in everything from an 18-hole disc golf course. Did you know it runs right through the park? Of course, there's soccer, beautiful softball facilities, tennis. You can bring the dog down to Dog Island for a fun dip in the pond. Since its opening in 1959, Ann Morrison Park has undergone a lot of renovations, including now 3 different variations of the central fountain. The newest version, it opened up this past summer. We showed you here on the 208. And I'll tell you this, there are always other projects in the works. Keep your eye out. Our signature move, answering your questions, addressing your comments. We're going to do both of those things ahead. And this caught our attention, so we'll talk about it. Questions on the dealership in town giving guns to folks that buy a gun from them. Something else catch your attention out there? Well, tell us all about it. Why not? Here's our phone number, 208-321-5614. When you send us a text message, please use hashtag the 208 so we know it's for us, and sign your name. We love to give credit. We'll get to some of these live on air in a few minutes.
All right, by now you've probably heard some buzz about the annular solar eclipse that is happening this Saturday. So I thought we'd take a minute or two here on the 208 and talk about what this is. So annular, not to be confused with annual. Annular simply means ring shape. So we call it a ring of fire eclipse when this type of solar eclipse happens. The last time we had an annular eclipse across the U.S. was back in 2012, and it won't happen again until 2039. So not a once in a lifetime event, but still relatively rare. All right, so what will we see here in Idaho? Well, unlike the last total solar eclipse, which Idaho was in the path of totality for that one, we are not in this instance. So this eclipse will start on the west coast of Oregon, and then you can see it kind of goes in this southeasterly line through northern Nevada down into Texas. So Idaho is in this 80% zone here, if you will. We'll see about 84% of maximum of this eclipse. So we won't get that ring of fire necessarily, which this happens when the sun is at its, or the moon, I should say, is at its furthest point from the earth. So it doesn't completely obscure the sun. It just appears slightly smaller. So when it crosses in front of the sun, we get that ring of fire. A total eclipse is where the moon and the sun appear to be the same size and the moon completely obscures the sun. That's what we had 6 years ago in 2017. So to view this one, even at partial eclipse, you need a viewing device, you need solar eclipse glasses or a viewing box. You can find all that information online. And so for our viewing here in Southwest Idaho on Saturday morning, our partial eclipse begins around 9:05 in the morning. It'll reach the max of 84% around 10:20 or so. If you want to travel to the path of annularity, as it's called, you'll have to head down to places like Elko or Winnemucca. So remember, total eclipse is where you can look at the sun, you can look at the eclipse without the glasses briefly. That's what happened back in 2017. Annular eclipse, because the sun is not completely obscured, you do need a viewing device. Do not stare straight at this without any sort of partial or eclipse glasses for you. And of course, partial eclipse is where we just see the moon obscuring only part of the sun. So this is what we'll see on Saturday, if we are able to see it at all. I know, wah, wah, right? But here is the outlook as far as the forecast goes for Saturday morning. This could change. We've got about 5 days to go, but it is expected to be a mostly overcast to overcast morning, especially as you get out closer into portions of eastern Oregon. So we'll keep a very close eye on that as it develops. Of course, the eclipse happens rain or shine, right, out in the atmosphere, but here on the ground, we need a clear sky to see it. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, as far as conditions go, if the eclipse was happening right now, we would not have a very good view. It has been cloudy, it has been wet and very cool. We're at 55 degrees right now in the city of trees, only in the upper 40s in McCall. As you can see, that time lapse has been a gray, damp day across the entire area. 45 degrees in McCall right now. Across our region, we're 25 to nearly 30 degrees cooler in the Boise area compared to 24 hours ago. Do you remember the 80s, mid 80s? That's where we were yesterday. Not the case right now. Our high for today will officially be 68 in Boise, but we did hit that temperature early this morning, and we've continued to cool from there. So rain has been coming down for the last several hours, but right now it's already starting to break apart just a little bit. We might get a break in the action here, to turning over to just showery conditions instead of that persistent rain we've been having across the Treasure Valley for the last couple of hours. But there's still plenty of precipitation out there coming in from the west. So I would say overnight into tomorrow, we'll continue to see showers. It'll all taper off by Wednesday afternoon, and then we'll start drying out for Thursday. But we don't warm up all that quickly. In fact, tomorrow we only hit the upper 50s for those high temperatures, low 60s with some sunshine on Thursday. Then we get that beautiful weekend with highs back into the low 70s for Sunday and Monday.
Buy a truck, get a gun. Buy any truck or SUV, new or used, and you get a gun.
Okay, well, some of you heard that ad on the radio recently, and it caught your attention. You had some questions. For example, it caught Carl and Star's attention, so they brought it to our attention asking, what's the scoop on the Boise car dealership that's advertising a free gun for every truck purchased? Is that legal? Well, Carl, we said that we would look into it for you, but before we even started looking into it, the car dealership, they reached out to us. And they said that they saw your question on the 208, and they said that they would love to explain to us how it all works. So today, Senior Vice President of Dealer Operations at Auto Ranch Group, Darren Potter, he explains how it works.
This is not about any Second Amendment rights. We don't give away a gun in the showroom. We are not federal arms licensed dealers. We give a voucher so that people can go to a licensed gun seller, and that seller will do the necessary background checks and make people sure that they qualify for the gun and there's no red flags. So it's really just a really fun promotion that we do because at this time of the year in Idaho, it's really all about hunting. It doesn't have to be used for a gun. They can use the voucher for any kind of camping or sporting supplies as well.
So this is about hunting season. This is about being outdoors, enjoying Idaho. So if you get a truck, if you buy the truck, you get a voucher to get a shotgun or sporting rifle or camping gear if you're more interested in that than hunting. And that's why they call it the Buxton Truck Sale. So yes, Carl in Star, this promotion is legal. And Potter said the promotion is going on for several years, but like a lot of things, they took a break during COVID. So they're back now, and already they tell us they've seen a big response since the promotion started. If you're interested, you have until the end of the month to go be a part of the deal. All right, we got your comments, questions, everything next. All right, end of the half hour. We're going to get to some of your comments in a second, but let me just get in front of all of the questions from the last week or so. The number one question has been, where's Brian Holmes? Where's Brian Holmes? He will be back tomorrow right here on the 208. He was just on vacation, so that's where he's been to answer your questions. Back tomorrow. Here we go, Justin. What do we got? All right. This person says, don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-hunting, but would love to see a dealership do something like buy a car, save a dog. That's from David in Boise. David, there's a lot of comments like yours. People having all kinds of ideas for their own promotion. This person wants to know where the new Ukraine Welcome Center is. It is on East Flamingo Avenue in Nampa near the Garrity exit. We've got that info at ktvb.com. All right. We'll see you tomorrow.